Hello, I'm Seafood Source editor Sean Murphy, and this is Seafood Source TV, the bi-weekly video blog with news, information, and insights into the global seafood industry. Well, with 2015 upon us, we thought it was a good idea to recap some of the biggest stories in the global seafood industry from last year. We've got a lot to talk about, including big acquisitions, a company rising from the ashes, and growing interest in lobster among Chinese consumers. But topping the news last year, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Prime Minister Dmitry Medvedev shocked the industry in August with a trade ban stopping seafood imports from Western nations, including the EU, Australia, Canada, Norway, and the United States. It was a tit-for-tat move coming on the heels of the West's economic sanctions, which themselves came after accusations that Russia was manipulating instability in Ukraine. Initial response to the trade ban was panic, with some exporters caught with product already on boats to Russia, now having to divert those shipments to alternative ports. Long-term, one of the biggest losers was thought to be Norway, which was expecting to ship an estimated 100,000 metric tons of farmed salmon to Russia over the course of the coming year. However, Norway, along with other Western nations, seem to have found a way to move their products, either by sending them to a third-party nation for value-add processing and relabeling before selling directly to Russia, or by finding alternative markets altogether. As we head into 2015, we'll be watching to see whether Russia extends the ban and the market's reaction. Thai Union Frozen Products had a busy year in 2014. Thailand's largest seafood producer branched out via a series of acquisitions on 2 continents. The company bought out French salmon smoker Mare Alliance, and within 2 weeks of that, acquired Norway's King Oscar Company. At the time, the company said it had plans for more acquisitions. Late in December, Thai Union announced its biggest acquisition of the year, offering to buy Bumble Bee Foods for $1.2 billion US. Since Thai Union already owns Chicken of the Sea, the acquisition will make the company the largest canned tuna seller in the United States, if not the world, and certainly the world's largest procurer of skipjack tuna. In 2015, we'll be watching to see if the acquisition gets past U.S. regulators, how Thai Union uses its new brand, and if the company continues its buying spree with any more acquisitions. Human trafficking is a disturbing and perennial issue in the seafood industry in parts of Southeast Asia. Some of the uglier details emerged in the summer of 2013 with a report from the Environmental Justice Foundation featuring interviews with workers in Thailand who told of conditions on fishing boats that can only be described as modern-day slavery. But last summer, that issue came to the forefront again with an embarrassing article from the British newspaper The Guardian, which named Thailand-based CP Foods as using fish meal that had been produced by fishing boats linked to the trafficking in its shrimp farming operations. It was enough to prompt French retailer Carrefour to suspend purchasing from CP, and CP itself cut off 90% of its fish meal suppliers after the article was published. Also last summer in June, the U.S. State Department released its annual Trafficking in Persons report, which grades foreign governments based on how well they are working to deal with the problem. Thailand was downgraded to Tier 3, the worst grade possible. This year we'll be watching to see whether the State Department changes its opinion, and we'll examine whether or not the Thai fishing industry has improved as a result of the events of 2014. Spanish seafood giant Pescanova has been taking a beating ever since the company declined to disclose details of its debts to Spanish regulators back in February of 2013. The resulting investigation led to allegations of fraud and cooking the books. The scandal forced the removal and replacement of the company's president and CEO, along with the entire board of directors. In the months that followed, the very existence of the company remained in doubt, but in May of 2014, however, Pescanova proved to the world that it wasn't finished yet. After lengthy negotiations, the company forged a new agreement with regulators, its creditors, and a Spanish court that allowed the company to settle its debts and emerge from bankruptcy. It is not the same company. It sold off or otherwise lost several of its subsidiaries, is now under a new leadership team, and it's likely every step it takes for quite some time will be scrutinized thoroughly by its creditors, the Spanish government, and the media. In 2015, we'll see just how well Pescanova is doing and whether it can bounce back from arguably the biggest blow to befall the company in its history. And finally, we can't talk about the global seafood industry in 2014 without mentioning China. The country's economy has been growing in recent years, and so has its appetite for seafood. There's no greater illustration of this than the sale of no less than 90,000 Canadian lobsters in a single day in November. The sales came through the online shopping site Alibaba.com. The site and its founder and executive chairman Jack Ma made headlines in the mainstream media as well in 2014, cementing the retailer's reputation as being China's answer to Amazon.com. An even bigger purchase came from Zhangzidao Group Corporation in October when the Chinese company bought Capital Seafood International, a lobster processor based in Nova Scotia. The company, which is rebranding itself as Zunoco Group, announced with the acquisition that it has plans to expand in Nova Scotia. Taken with the Alibaba purchases, it all adds up to a clear sign the Chinese seafood industry and Chinese consumers are turning their collective eye towards seafood products in other countries. Well, you can read more about these stories and everything else happening in the industry on SeafoodSource.com right now, and keep an eye out for more Seafood Source TV with more news, information, and insights into the global seafood industry. I'm Seafood Source editor Sean Murphy. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you online.